Hi all, just a quick Commodore 64 and power supply repair video. Check it out. Okay, here's the culprit. A dead motherboard, black screen. Stick a dead test cartridge in, however, and it gives you 3 flashes. And with a bit of googling, someone told me that means U11. So one of the RAM chips, I thought, okay, this is easy. Just swap out one of the RAM chips and we're good. And if you're wondering why the can lid and expansion port cover's missing, they were rusty. I thought a bit of cleaning up would be required. So I yanked out the RAM chip, put in a socket, and put in another RAM chip. No change. Not so easy. So I wonder what else it could be. I thought maybe the PLA might be worth changing, as it's a highly likely chip to fail, and it could explain the false signals I'm getting off the dead test cartridge. So I yanked it out and put in a replacement, and different symptoms. Now I'm getting a yellow and white flashing screen on the dead test cartridge. What does that mean? While scratching my head trying to figure out what was going on, I was also just running my fingers across the chips, seeing if I could notice anything unusually hot. And I noticed this Character ROM chip was significantly hotter than the other ROM chips. So I thought, what if I cut pin 24, which is power VCC, and see if that makes a difference. As the dead test cartridge doesn't actually require any of the ROMs to be plugged in, I tried that and sure enough it fired up. So I think I was on a winner. I removed the chip, put in a socket, put in a replacement chip, as crusty as it looks, coming off an old rusty donor board, but the chip works. And I removed the dead test cartridge, turned it on, and voila, a working Commodore 64. Wasn't too bad. Now for the keyboard. It was actually working just fine. I didn't want to actually strip it down and do the complete cleaning of all the contacts, which I would normally do, because it was just fine and I didn't want to risk damaging anything. So I just got to it with some compressed air to clean out all the gunk from under the keys, gave it a bit of a tidy up, and good to go. One of the hinges in the case had broken off, which they often do, so I went to Thingiverse and downloaded this replacement, which I printed and epoxied it on, and it, with a bit of filing and tidying up, works just fine. See below for the link. And now for the power supply. I checked the voltages and they seemed okay, both the 5 volts DC and the 9 volts AC. However, when I plugged it in, it was behaving very strangely. The SID was making all sorts of weird noises, so something was still a bit crook. I wanted to make sure this is safe going forward, to change the power regulator and the cap. So that was what I was going to do anyway, so let's go do it. So just taking out 4 screws at the bottom allows you to take off the top and exposes the innards. And what we're going to be doing is, on the left hand side there, under that PCB, we've got our voltage regulator and cap, which we're going to swap out. These have been affectionately called the brick of death, because sometimes when these voltage regulators fail, they send a high voltage to your Commodore 64 and fry it. So we definitely want to be fixing that. I'll put links below to the components, but they're simple, straight, one-for-one swaps, nothing tricky, nothing to be rewired. As you can see here, I didn't even remove it from the transformer. I just left it there and replaced these 2 components and reassembled it basically. From here I screwed the voltage regulator back onto the heatsink and reassembled it reverse of what I did to pull it apart. Probably took longer to make this video than it did to repair. Super easy. This is the cap that I removed. As you can see, it's probably due to be replaced by the way it's bulging. Obviously this had something to do with the problems I was having when it was plugged in, as it's used for filtering. Obviously what was coming through wasn't very well filtered. And here's a C64 amp power supply all plugged in and running. I'm using my Orbital rescue game that I wrote to do a bit of a test, having a bit of a muck around with it, see if it all works, and everything was running just fine. I wrote this game in BASIC and compiled it. I've got a video on my channel on how I did that. If you're interested, check it out. Like and subscribe and all that. Thanks for watching.